Leap EdTech Summit, something that we covered in collaboration with Times Accelerator as well as NASSCOM. My colleague Shivangi Acharya covered Leap EdTech recently to really find out about the education technology space. Remember, EdTech has become a buzzword in the last year in terms of the number of startups in this space as well as the kind of investment chasing these startups. You've had the likes of Chan Zuckerberg Foundation, investing in Byju's in India. So clearly it's a very hot space. Shivangi, take us through, this summit, the interaction between entrepreneurs, investors in this area and the key challenges that they foresee going forward.
India's education industry is a $25 billion industry by even the most rough estimates. But it hasn't really embraced technology in the most rigorous ways possible, which is why Leap EdTech has tried to create an interface between EdTech startups and possible prospective investors. The idea here is to get the conversation started about what has really held back the industry for so long. So we have seen the biggest talking points coming out of the fact that there have been possible very prominent access barriers that these startups need to break, that there are on-ground difficulties faced by educators that startups need to be cognizant of, that there has been a gap which needs to be bridged between what the startups really want to deliver and what the investor really wants to seek. Of course, there has been a major discussion about the evolution of education in India, the change in the mindset where we have seen more students, teachers, educational institutions, as well as prospective employers come on board and accept the online revolution about education, which is not just limited to the tier 1 cities, but also in tier 2 and tier 3 cities. Of course, the biggest talking point here is the flow of funds, because what really in the past the EdTech sector has seen has been some highs and some lows, but what everybody wants is a more sustainable industry so that there isn't a bubble which bursts at the end of it, and so that India joins the global learning curve in the longer run and adopt the technology in the education sector.
And to get a better sense of how the space is evolving, we spoke to some of the key players in terms of investors, entrepreneurs, the facilitators as far as EdTech is concerned. Listen in to these voices.
EdTech is a great sector. If you look at the numbers, there is almost 205 million students that are enrolled in K-12 itself, and so I think it is a very, very large sector. There are a lot of opportunities in this sector if you divide it, whether it's K-12, higher education, vocational training, or test prep. So we are looking for companies that are building large platforms and not necessarily selling content, but creating distribution for people who are selling content in education.
Which is the vertical, which is the opportunity that excites you the most and you see that it has the brightest future of them all?
K-12 excites me the most, naturally, because the number of students enrolled in this is really, really great. But I think test prep and higher education also excites me. Test prep because the monetization ability of a venture in test prep is very high, as most students and most people are preparing for their future.
What do you think are the limitations that the space has already overcome, and now as an investor you see that there are more doors that are opening up in this investment area?
Sure. I think the biggest barrier that I can talk of was the propensity of payment by users and by schools and colleges. Schools and colleges still remain tough. It's very hard to get payment, but what one company like Byju's, who are portfolio companies, has shown that parents are willing to pay if the quality of the content is great, and we have seen this with multiple education ventures. Wherever the quality is great, distribution is really, really solid, the parents are willing to pay.
Do you think that there's a gap between what the investors think is necessary and what the startups think they should focus on?
There is a gap. I would totally give it, a very good question, nice question. There is a gap. Entrepreneurs are not thinking deep enough, which had been a problem 3-4 years ago. You have to think about it that India has a very nascent startup ecosystem. We're just forming. It's 5 years, 6 years old at the max, right? And the quality would come in time. And what we are now seeing, offshoots of mature entrepreneurs who are producing quality content, and not only in EdTech, it's everywhere.
But do you think it's different this time around, and it's more sustainable, that the growth that you're seeing in the EdTech space is here to stay?
So EdTech had never seen a bubble. frankly speaking. In fact, if you look at the numbers from 2015, 100 millions were invested in EdTech. 2016, roughly around 160, 170 million. 2017, so far 65 million across 6 deals. But if you look at each of the company, you'll realize that there is a lot of pragmatism in investors as well as in entrepreneurs trying to solve real specific problem. So I wouldn't say whether it was a bubble even in the past or it is right now, because the solutions that are coming up, and people, even if government, B2G, B2C, B2B2C, are the right solutions for this sector.
We have seen very strong traction of folks applying for these programs and looking at getting upskilled in these areas, especially in the entrepreneurship program. We are also running a free program with Startup India initiative, with Prime Minister's initiative that he is currently operating, where we have about 1.5 lakh students going through the program as we speak today. Beyond that, we have over 2,000, 3,000 students who are paying us for our existing set of programs, which in itself, in the first year of our operation, is a big number for us to achieve.
How do you see these courses, like you spoke about entrepreneurial related programs? Do you see the programs that are usually catching the interest of Indian students? Do you think that remit will expand? Do you think Indian students will increasingly take more traditional courses and go through the online platform for that?
Yeah, no, I think whenever new technology comes in, you always start with a newer area, and I think in that context, these new programs have taken up quite a lot in the entire ecosystem. Specifically entrepreneurship, I don't think so. It's a very niche area any longer. 60% of our participants come from tier 2, tier 3 cities who never have access to these kind of programs. So close to 1 lakh students who are coming from tier 2 and tier 3 cities. Coming back to your other aspect of traditional program, I mean, if you think of India has got about 150 million youth today in the age group of 18 to 24. Less than 20-25 million are going through higher education, which means that 1 in 5 individuals are going through higher education. And if you want to take that number higher, offline education is not going to solve for it, and online has to play a very big role in providing access to a much larger audience. So we'll see as we go along traditional programs also coming online and individuals learning as they are working as well.
Access versus content, like higher education, senior secondary, beyond senior secondary education, there's a huge problem of access in the tier 2, tier 3 cities. First of all, do you think your online platform can cut through that access barrier? And of course, you also continue to keep your focus on content as opposed to access. So what's about that debate?
Sure. So I think just in terms of access, I mentioned 60% of our folks who are accessing the program are from tier 2 and tier 3 cities, so there is participation from that aspect. But I believe that if you're talking about online education, it cannot be just thought about as a problem of access. If we have to really win the game and if we have to go towards the holy grail, it is a problem of experience, which is a combination of content, technology and student success team. All of that come together is when education happens. Otherwise, you are a content library and you don't want to be in the library business.
Exactly. So, sir, in order to expand your content, what are the India-specific moves that you're planning to take up? How do you want to involve and engage with teachers, students, and the whole ecosystem better?
Sure. I think there are multiple stakeholders that we need to sort of work with. First is government, in which, as I mentioned, that we are working with Prime Minister's Startup India initiative. Second is a pool of faculty members. So at scale, we are engaging with faculty members from IIMs, tier 2 institution, tier 3 institution to come and sort of participate in that entire ecosystem. Component 3 is going to be industry experts who have to sort of come and sort of participate and give out their learning. But the most important sort of stakeholder that we need to participate is students, and that's where we understand that online is new. There's a challenge of credibility, so we are offering free programs, A, to build that credibility and build that comfort. B, we are organizing Learning Week and Career Week, where we'll give access to quality programs to these individuals for free.
I've been interested in math throughout my life. I've been very passionate about the subject. I started my career by teaching math to senior grade students, but I realized during that experience that grades 9 to 12, that's a very late stage to make any fundamental impact. So that's when I started exploring the younger segments, grades K to 8, and how we can build a math learning solution that can create a strong foundation from a very young age. So that was the idea to start QMath.
So you've recently had a A-series funding in June from Sequoia last year, and what's the plan going forward? Because QMath has really taken off now. So what's the plan for 2017?
So even post the Series A round, we've also raised another round, Series B round, in which Google's venture capital arm, Google Capital, has funded us. The plan is to expand our teacher base across the country. We are present in 6 cities as of today, 7 cities actually. So the plan is to expand our teacher base in these cities, to consolidate the product and to build a stronger brand.
So since QMath is something which I guess directly focus on mathematics, which what I remember from my students' day was gave us sleepless nights. Do you at some point plan to take your program to schools? Do you want to target schools?
So I think the way we are building the model right now, it's in the after school space. That gives us a lot of flexibility to expand. From my experience, I have seen that working with schools, there are challenges to scale those models. In the after school space, we have a lot of flexibility in terms of building our model the way we want it to do. To your question of math giving sleepless nights, I would like to say that math is a beautiful subject, and it's very, very enjoyable if taught to students in the right manner. So the problem is that students don't learn it in the right way. The way they're exposed to it is probably flawed. But if all children have the potential to master math if it's taught to them in the right manner.
So do you think that when it comes of expanding your program in India, have you ever faced an access barrier? Do you think that is a problem, or focusing on content and focusing on approach is most important, not access? Which do you think is a greater barrier?
I think the way we are building the model right now, it's very scalable. We are partnering with stay-at-home women who can join our platform and become teacher partners and run home-based learning centers. We don't see a problem of access. There are literally millions of women, well-educated, well-qualified women out there who have stepped out of the workforce for family reasons. This QMath platform gives them an opportunity to do something meaningful with their time and their skill set. So we don't see a problem of access. We have built a great product that's giving a great opportunity to well-educated women to join hands with us and be part of the math learning revolution.
I believe Udacity is almost like the mecca for reskilling and upskilling. I think we have seen awesome traction from India. Our belief is that we are preparing the world for the future, which means we are training students in areas like machine learning, virtual reality, robotics, artificial intelligence, car driving, self-driving car, and stuff like that. So when we are seeing awesome traction of students from here who are pursuing these courses, India happens to be one of our largest markets outside US.
So it comes of entrepreneurial skills, these artificial intelligence. These are very niche courses. Yeah. Do you think that at some point the Indian customer base will look to expand beyond these niche programs and touch upon traditional programs via online platforms like yours?
I'm sure there are a lot of companies around who are also touching on programs in management and more traditional areas. Our focus is on technology trainings. We are the leaders in that space, and we believe that companies who want to build the technologies for future are hiring today for them, right? And we are seeing that kind of response both from our students and from our enterprise partners. So that connect is there.
How have Indian employers taken to students who have completed online courses, and what is their employability rate?
Sure. So it's still early for us to comment on the India numbers, but I can tell you that globally we have had students placed after successfully completing their Udacity program. They've been placed in leading companies around the world. In fact, it's funny you asked that. In India, we are about to do a career fair, our first career fair, in end of April in Delhi, and then one in Bangalore. And we're getting major brands like Paytm and Cash Karo and 1MG and companies who are coming and participating in the career fair. So we hope to see a lot of traction there for our students. Just as a note, one company looked at 45 of our student profiles and shortlisted 9 of them, that's 20%, to interview for the next round. So there's definitely traction among employers to take our students.
So a lot of factors that of course employers are going to take into account, but there's one big debate about which was even spoken on the panel, which is about course completion. Yeah. What kind of rates are you witnessing on your own platform, and do you think it's a concern, or we are just too fixated on the concept?
So our motto is students first. Whatever we do it for the students, to make sure the student gets the most superlative experience. We believe that students are spending both their time and money to continue this journey with us on further education, right? So we want to make sure the students achieve whatever outcome that they want to achieve. One of the focus areas we look at is how to get students back into the classroom, the online classroom again and again. We believe that if we focus on that, then completion rate is only a secondary metric, because if we can get our students continuously back to the classroom, they'll keep on achieving the objectives that they want from the program. Some may want to complete it, some may not want to complete it, but that's how we kind of focus on the students rather than being fixated on how many students are completing. Right now our focus is let's give them the best education experience on the planet.
Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/ETNow and don't forget to click the like button. You can also follow us on Twitter at ETNowLive. To stay updated with all our programming, hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel by logging on to youtube.com/ETNow.